Welcome everyone to Hawaii, the North Shore of Oahu, the famed bonsai pipeline for the Xbox Jerry Lopez Pipeline Masters. Pat Parnell along with Ken and Harkin here at the third and final stop of the Vans Triple Crown of Surfing, along with the final stop of the WCT, the World Championship Tour. Now, even though this is our last stop, the World Championship title was already decided. Very emotional experience with Andy Irons at sunset. But let's not forget another title at stake here today.
That's right, Pat. In addition to this being the final event of the WCT, it is also the third and final stop of the Vans Triple Crown of Surfing.
Upon Randy Rarick, Executive Director of the Triple Crown of Surfing, lies the ultimate decision as to whether or not the waves are good enough to run the event. After the successful trials round, conditions went sour. He, along with competitors and Triple Crown Contest Director Bernie Baker, would once again begin their daily vigil.
Our swell is expected to build throughout the day, but unfortunately still small this morning. We're waiting for the arrival of the swell. So once again, 8 o'clock decisions are possible, 9 o'clock start. Please check back after 8 a.m.
After several days of waiting, the swell was on the rise. But how great a rise was the question. Competitors made the best of very difficult, dangerous, and inconsistent conditions, and the first 11 of the 16 heats in round 1 were finished by day's end.
As night fell, however, the forecast was for giant surf, and everyone wondered what the new day would bring. The following morning would reveal massive waves in a shattered event site. Bent metal and broken wood were the result of the sleepless sea. 24 hours later, however, in place of repairs were wave scores of 8s and 9s. Pipe was perfect.
Heat 12 saw Flavio Poderots lay down a 7 on his way to a heat victory. Shane Dorian upped the ante in the following heat with a 9.25 and a 7.5. Up to that point, the highest heat score of the round. 2 heats later, Damian Hobgood would eclipse that mark, posting a 2-wave total of 18.40 out of 20.
In the final heat of the round, Pat O'Connell would miss scoring a perfect 10 by only 0.2 of a point, but would still finish second to Australian Jake Patterson. So the top 16 would advance directly to round 3. The remaining other 32 would have to surf the second round. By the time round 2 entered the water, pipe and backdoor were firing, and heat 1 was absolutely amazing. Spectacular performances from every competitor would take it right to the wire. Trialist Brian Pacheco would push his way past WCT Elite and into the next round, while at the same time forcing Andy Irons to perform at a level you would expect from a newly crowned world champion.
Yeah, the title really wasn't mine until that last day of sunset when it all went down. I had the heat right before Luke Egan, and I knew I needed to make a couple more heats, and it would have been totally sealed, and I ended up getting an interference in the end of the heat, just being too aggressive, and had to sit there and watch Luke's heat, which was the next one after me, and probably was one of the longest heats I've ever watched in my life, and didn't want to get too worked up. Inside it was pretty nerve-wracking. Definitely a lot of butterflies and just a lot of emotions, but yeah, I think there's just so much emotions going on around it. It was it was an intense moment for sure.
Heat 3 would be the last for former pipe and world champ Australian Mark Akalupo. While Heat 4 would see Sonny Garcia advancing just behind the determined Mick Lowe.
You got to go. We're all surfers, and when you see a good wave come, you don't go,
oh, I might not make this one, especially on a day like today where it's perfect.
Yeah.
If there's the slightest chance you're going to get that 10, then...
Round 3 of the Xbox Pipeline Masters provided some of the most epic conditions of the event. 5 to 8 foot surf, light winds, and world-class surfers trying to make it through to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, I was kind of nervous because I knew I had done pretty good during the heat, but I knew one wave could change the whole thing. One wave Fabi would get, or even Shea would get, it would change the whole thing. And then Shea got that last one. I didn't know if the wave was going to be good or not, so I said, oh, I better go for the next one. And I saw it coming, I said, I battled really hard for it. And I nearly didn't make the drop on that wave. I was so stoked I made it.
Heat 2 saw Damien Hobgood explode when he comboed the rest of the field and moved into the quarterfinals. But it was the last-minute effort of Aussie Lee Winkler that grabbed everyone's attention.
Yeah, I didn't really let it get to me. I just thought, I was just happy to be out there getting waves, so kind of didn't worry about it. And I thought, I got 2 minutes, so, it could be my last heat of the year, so I put all my effort in, and wave came, and, so many times that'll happen to me.
Heat 5 of round 3 would kick off the final day of competition. With slightly smaller waves, 5-time pipe champ Kelly Slater came out of the gate on fire, posting a near-perfect 9.7 on his first wave. Slater would also bring in a 7.50 and finish the heat in first place.
Yeah, after Kelly got that first wave, I knew he'd be coming back out, spitting fire, and I was already spitting fire because he took it from me. So, I'm just glad because it was such a slow heat. I was just glad to get a couple waves.
Conditions had changed for the quarterfinals, forcing the competitors to rethink strategy and mindset.
Definitely today is a lot mellower, and it makes it a lot harder because the waves are smaller, and so there is a lot of hassling going on and stuff, and yesterday if you weren't in the right spot, you weren't going because there's a high potential of hurting yourself. So if you weren't in the spot, you weren't going. Now, you can sit anywhere, you can whip it anywhere, and then the consequences aren't that bad.
You're paddling into some of those rights, and you're like, I didn't even think this thing's big enough to get a score, but if it barrels, it looks really good from the beach, So you can get your scores on really small waves because they're kind of the cleaner, better ones at the moment.
With the pressure of the world title off his shoulders, Andy Irons seemed to be very relaxed at home in the water at Pipe.
I guess the other guys had bad heat, so an average heat will work right now. And yeah, I just got pretty lucky on the wedges, kept making sure I was deeper than those guys were, and there's a lot of rights right now. I don't think there's any left, and just looking for the open right.
Andy would make it through to the semis with an 8.0 and a 9.0.
Well, I started off on the wedged up pretty good, and I seen the section, going to be tapering off towards the end, and stalled a little bit in the beginning, got a nice tube, and I saw the section running, so really had to use my edge on my board and just kind of get a good couple pumps off before the next section, and my board's 7.0, it's pretty long, so kind of just glided me right through it, and that was that.
Finishing off his first year in a WCT, Mick Fanning has met the challenge of surfing with the best in the world. In the dying minutes of Heat 2, he hooked into a great scoring wave, beating out Danny Wills by less than a point. Taylor Knox was feeding off energy at Pipe, and it showed as he pushed himself in quarterfinal number 3.
It was just wedging up like Sebastian Inlet. It was just like, yeah, and Kelly was like, yeah, I can't believe you're in the spot. And I was like, I'm gone, like so stoked I could get that wave, and it was so wide open. I could tell it was going to be wide open. It wasn't going to be a clamper, so kind of styled a little bit, so it's cool.
Taylor, is this the best you've ever done out here at Pipe?
Yeah, the best result I've ever had. So I'm stoked to just keep going.
The only 2 perfect 10s scored in the quarterfinals went to Luke Kitchings, and you guessed it, Kelly Slater.
I got a pretty good one. I was paddling back out, sort of got cleaned up, and it kept me down by off the wall, and then that set was coming, I could see it was just shifting, and I just snuck down there, and Taylor wasn't far enough over. He was kind of stuck in the channel between the two, and then next thing you know, that thing was just perfect right there, and Taylor was paddling for it, and he just yells at me, go, and I went, and I was really deep, but that was
That was one of the best waves I've had. This is probably the best wave I caught this winter.
Conditions continue to challenge competitors into the semifinals, making them work a little bit harder for every scoring opportunity. The first big score came from Andy Irons.
It was really all the first wave, pretty much decided the heat. I knew that there weren't going to be that many open barrels, and the current's really bad out there right now. It's kind of folding it on itself, and that first wave came in, I just made sure I was the farthest deepest, and yeah, that was pretty much the turning point of the whole heat. I knew I just needed to get one average wave because they didn't really get anything in the whole heat.
On his fourth and final wave of the heat, Damian Hobgood moved up from third place to second with a 6.40, all but giving him a spot in the final. Seconds later, however, Mick Fanning found a nice backdoor wave to earn himself an 8.25 and take the transfer spot away from Hobgood.
Competitors in semifinal number 2 had the worst luck with the wave, and it showed in their final heat scores. Kelly Slater posted a 12.25 and would win the heat.
I thought I had a really bad heat, and I ended up winning it, and I was pretty far ahead, I guess, so just shows you what kind of heat those guys had.
I think Shane had like 2-3 point something scores and made it through.
That's amazing. That's, you know, you would never expect at Pipeline for guys to get such low scores and make it through heats, but
Corey had a really good wave and just couldn't make it out. I think he would have probably got an 8.5 on it.
yeah, I saw another one he pulled in. He would have got a 10 if he came out. He had the waves in the heat. He was just too deep. You know, we were pushing each other too deep, and there weren't many waves up for grabs. So the good ones that came in, most likely the guy was going to be too deep.
Despite a lack of big scoring waves, Dorian was amped and ready for the final. So Hawaiian, Andy Irons, Aussie Mick Fanning, Kelly Slater, and Shane Dorian have made their way into the lineup, and the top 2 scoring waves will decide our championship here today. And Kenan, there is a lot at stake.
Most of the story centers around Andy Irons, Pat. He's the new world champ. He's out there in red, and he's the only one who could take away the Triple Crown points lead from Joel Parkinson, not to mention a brand new Ford truck.
Mick Fanning on his first wave, also in the booth with us, former number 2 in the world surfer, Brad Gerlach. Wave not panning out there, Brad, for Mick.
That's right. He's just trying to get a score right off the start. Here goes Kelly Slater off the bottom on kind of a bumpy one. He's out with a little bit of flair there.
Kelly Slater, 5-time Pipe Master champion. Brad, is this an uncharacteristic wave for him?
Not really. This is kind of like getting his rhythm going. Same with this wave here with Shane. Just getting his rhythm going. It's not going to be one of his top scores, but it could come in play at the very end of the heat if nobody else catches a wave. So that's the way these guys are thinking off the start.
Definitely key to get momentum earlier. Diminishing swell, further north swell, kind of erasing a lot of the left, looking back on Dorian's wave.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to stall up. He's really slowing his board down there, hoping that the judges perceive him as being deep in the barrel.
Well, Dorian gets a 4.50, setting himself with a nice foundation, and Andy Irons gets in the tube.
Yeah, very uncharacteristic fall there for Andy Irons. He's got this wave wired, and you won't see that from him very often.
Mick Fanning, his second wave of the final, gets a little covered and has to come off.
Yeah, Pat, a similar size and shaped wave as Andy's, but he comes out at the bottom of the wave making for a better score. He drags his arm along right there, slowing down so that he can completely disappear. You're not sure if he's going to make it or not, and then he just comes out what we call the doggy door and jumps off right there.
And he does get a better score, Brad. He got a 4.75.
And Shane Dorian up and surfing on his second wave.
Yeah, with a nice late drop, digging the nose of his board in. Unintentional, but keeps him nicely slotted in the tube there.
Dorian has dominated backdoor for so many years. It's kind of a good thing, the shifting swell. Definitely opening some doors for Dorian.
See how his nose dug in right there? Well, that slowed him down even more, maximizing his tube time. Very happy with that score. He comes out and just lays down a cutback, second to none. Oof.
But the barrel, definitely a great stall.
Yeah, see how he slowed down there? He's pulled his nose up so the lip doesn't hit him. And he's happy about that, so he just wraps into a great cutback here. A signature piece from Dorian.
And a 7.75, definitely surfing his favorite break. It's showing here today. He's now in first place.
And Kelly Slater up and surfing, takes backdoor on wave number 2.
Beautiful late drop, perfect positioning, and can't seem to make it out of that one.
And out the back, Andy Irons on his second wave.
Yeah, Andy's stalling up, using that arm technique. Stoked, does a little lip snap, just for feel good.
And if Andy Irons wins here today, he will pull off what only one other surfer's ever done. That was Kelly Slater back in '95, winning the world title, winning Triple Crown, and winning pipe. And looking back right now on Kelly Slater's wave.
That's right, perfect wave choice, slotted perfectly. Looks like he's coming out now. Right there, he starts to get too low and the wave smashes him. Andy Irons, on the other hand, pulls in perfectly, gets a little doggy door exit, and he's stoked.
Yeah, it certainly is. He got the better score, too, a 6.0.
And the five-time champ here from pipe, Kelly Slater, not happy. More waves to come. Welcome back, everyone, to the bands, Triple Crown of Surfing and the Jerry Lopez Pipeline Masters. Pat Parnell, along with Kenan Harkin and Brad Gerlach. 12-year ASP veteran Shane Dorian leads our final due to a couple good tube rides. His best happening at backdoor, earning him a solid 7.75. Here's a look at the current standings. So Dorian on top, followed by current world champion Andy Irons. And out the back, we have Mick Fanning, wave number 4.
Yeah, Mick, not too happy with his choice. But sometimes you can't tell what's going to be a good one and what's not going to be a good one until you take off.
And not much parking on Cam Highway today. A packed house. A lot of fans of surfing. And it looks like a wave coming through. Shane Dorian paddling for wave 4. He's up.
Oh, he's deep in there.
Yeah, Shane with a late drop and a perfect position barrel, backdooring that thing, and just riding along and doing a Sean Thompson cutout right there.
And could be his 4th WCT event win of the year. Andy Irons up and surfing.
Yeah, Andy backdooring that tube right from takeoff, getting a nice long tube, big off the lip right there, and then just coming into this section right here and just saying, you know what, I'm just going to smack this thing too.
And Mick Fanning, big peak but closes out.
Yeah, Mick looking totally out of rhythm out here. Sometimes you want to just pick a wave and just hope for the best, get your fingers crossed.
But Shane Dorian definitely having rhythm in the finals.
Yeah, nice late takeoff, completely disappearing and coming through. Look at that. Perfect positioning.
Such a thick wave. His score in 8.35.
It's crazy. I mean, Shane Dorian talks about pipes so relaxed, but in fact, this past October, Liam McNamara breaking his femur. This place gets dangerous, but Slater up on his next wave.
Yeah, Slater slowing right down in the tube there, getting a little score, kicking out. Fanning with another one just right behind him, but not quite the same depth.
Yeah, these lefts definitely not connecting. We keep on talking about the diminishing swell. We're seeing a much greater focus on the backdoor waves. The right's breaking here at pipe.
Well, Kelly with a late drop, using his arm and his butt to slow him down, maximizing that time in the tube, giving himself a better score.
And he does get a better score. He moves from 4th place to 3rd with a 6.40.
And here's Fanning with the same approach, dropping his arm in, using his butt to slow down, but the wave not cooperating the same.
And he gets a 4.25.
So coming down to the last few minutes of this final, and Shane Dorian picks off a left.
Oh, super late drop. How did he stick that, Brad?
Well, he was totally concentrating on the drop and not looking so much down at the wave.
Well, hesitation does not work too well at pipe, and Andy Irons, current world champ, needs something here.
Oh, and he gets swallowed up.
And that's what happens when you get overextended and your board doesn't respond.
And a rapid-fire wave exchange. Dorian, wave number 6.
Yeah, straight up into that lip and just can't hang on. It's too bad. Yeah, this has been kind of an odd final. I mean, you expect Kelly Slater to be coming out guns a-blazing. He's kind of had an off and on heat. Mick Fanning, the surfer that's totally out of rhythm in this thing. I mean, there's a wave right there that shows what he can do. He's totally over it. Too bad.
Well, we've seen a much better Mick Fanning previous this contest season. Andy Irons, very vital wave.
Now he needs a 6.85 to replace his 6.0.
Well, Irons, the consummate competitor, finding waves when there are very few out there and doing a great job on that wave, but really lacked in the length department in terms of the tube.
Yeah, check this out. He paddles left to get as deep as he possibly can. He's on his toe side edge. He slips underneath the tube. He's perfectly slotted, but not in the tube as long as he'd like.
And that's going to affect his score, and his score is in. It's a 5.75.
It seems like it's a battle between the two Hawaiians still, between Andy Irons and Shane Dorian, but you can't rule out Slater. He's 5-time champ here at pipe. All he needs is a 9.7. Totally possible for Slater. And right there, Kelly Slater taking off deep.
Yeah, well, Kelly looking at that wave from the backdoor position, and unfortunately that wave just crumbling down, and not even Schwarzenegger was going to pull into that thing.
Yeah, disappointing on the wave factor. These guys having to scramble for Definitely not ideal pipe, but showing the competitive aspect. A lot of jostling out there right now, and it's going to be Shane Dorian, current leader.
Yeah, well, Shane wanted that wave for two reasons: to try to better a score and also to keep Andy Irons off of the wave as well. I mean, you never know what's going to be behind the next wave, but you don't want to leave it to chance.
And the gamble doesn't pay off. Last few seconds of the final, Andy Irons pulls in.
And wraps a huge signature cutback, gets barreled, throws a fist up. I think he's feeling pretty good about that.
And showing you how the chess game can backfire in your face, Andy only needs a 6.85. Do you think that's possible, Brad?
Yeah, I think he's got him. I mean, Shane picks a good wave here. He keeps Andy off of this one. If there's nothing behind it, he's stoked. But look what happens. Andy pulls into a perfect one behind him. Shane's just going, Noonan. But it's not to be. I mean, Andy just steps into a huge, beautiful cutback right here. Pulls his board right up under the tube. I mean, he's the world champ. He's got to be feeling great.
I love the Caddyshack reference, but looking back at Andy Irons, coming down to the last few seconds of this final at the Pipe Masters, and ends it with a just textbook style Andy Irons just carved.
Well, with a score of 8.40, he is in the lead. It would take a miracle for anyone to catch him now.
So it's come down to the last few seconds. A visibly elated Andy Irons opts to come in down to the last few seconds. We'll let him count it down to make it official.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
And the Hawaiian has done it. Andy Irons, it is official, world champion, Pipe Masters champ, and Band's Triple Crown winner.
Well, Shane Dorian definitely thinking about that last wave exchange, knowing that had he not caught that first one, he would have got that second one and possibly won the Pipe Masters.
So here's a look at the final results. Kelly Slater, waves just not materializing for him. In second place, Shane Dorian. And Andy Irons able to do what his brother Bruce did last year, winning the Pipe Masters.
Look at him. Cheer for him. He can hear you. He will hear you.
So here's a look at the final standings of the Vans Triple Crown of Surfing. Andy Irons on top, followed by Joel Parkinson. Right now, let's go down to Brad Gerlach, who's with our winner.
Thanks, guys. So, Andy, tell us about your heat out there. How did it go for you?
It went a little bit shaky in the beginning and started off really slow. Shano guys got some good waves right off the bat, and kind of playing catch up towards the end, and got a really good wave in the middle. I got a 9.5, I think it was, and needed a 6 in the end, and just scored a killer wedge with a nice barrel on it. Came out, felt like a really good cut back into the pocket, and got the score I needed, and even some more.
It seemed like you, after you got that good one, you started building on rhythm, and you just kept getting better and better.
Yeah, definitely. Rhythm has a lot to do with it, especially when the waves are like this today. I mean, some waves that aren't that good, and there's a lot of rip through it. So just being really selective, and that seemed to be working really good for me, just catching the right waves.
You're the Triple Crown champion and the world champion. How does that feel?
Incredible. Just what I've grown up to wait for this moment in my life, and it's actually happened. So just trying to soak it up. I want to remember every moment of it, and let's just try and take it all in.
Well, as the Triple Crown champion, he'll get to remember it as he drives around in his brand new FX Ford Ranger 4x4. For Ken and Harkin, Brad Gerlach, I'm Pat Parnell. We will see you at the next Vans Triple Crown.